Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Seattle Public Library. My name is Susan Hildreth, and I'm the city librarian. And I'd like to just mention all our esteemed guests we have here with us today. We have, of course, Secretary Locke, our former governor, Representative Inslee, Representative Baird, Greg Marney from NoaNet, and of course, Mayor Mike McGinn. It's my honor today to be able to introduce the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Gary Locke. Today, he is here to announce a Recovery Act grant that will help significantly upgrade high-speed internet service in 2/3 of Washington State, 39 counties, and we know that broadband is the way to our country's future. So I am happy to welcome U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Gary Locke.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The reason I'm here is to announce an investment that will significantly benefit the people and the businesses of Washington State. Under the Recovery Act, the Department of Commerce and Agriculture were given the responsibility for administering nearly $7 billion in grants and loans to improve high-speed internet service in underserved communities all across America. Thanks to the work of the Northwest Open Access Network, or NoaNet, some $139 million of that investment is coming right here. Earlier this year, NoaNet was awarded almost $85 million in the first round of our broadband funding program. And that $85 million is going to lay 830 miles of fiber optic cable and directly connect 123 anchor institutions in 18 counties across the state. And today we're announcing an additional $54.5 million in this second round to NoaNet. And NoaNet plans to use this money to lay another 511 miles of fiber optic cable. They're going to leverage some 2,300 miles of existing fiber optic cable and directly connect 285 anchor institutions. In the months and years ahead, the infrastructure upgrades that the Department of Commerce is funding with this NoaNet project will enable local governments, nonprofits, and private companies in Washington to potentially bring high-speed internet service to over 86,000 households and some 14,000 businesses. This is where the real economic opportunity lies for Washington State. More high-speed internet means more small businesses, farmers, and entrepreneurs will have better access to national and international markets, skilled employees, training in best practices, and a broader array of vendors, suppliers, and customers. Aside from all the concrete benefits this investment will bring to this region, it also addresses a fundamental issue of quality and fairness. Having access to the Internet's economic, health, and educational benefits should be as much of an American right as attending a quality school or feeling safe when walking down the street. We do not always reach these goals, but we simply have to try. This $54.5 million grant to NoaNet to expand high-speed internet service will pay dividends for decades to come. And I want to congratulate everyone here who navigated a very competitive grants process to bring this important investment to the people of Washington State.
This is an economic development tool of the highest order. And the reason it is an economic development tool is that something on the order of 14,000 businesses in the state of Washington will be able to get broadband access by accessing the nodes that are at the end of this middle mile of broadband access. So if you want to start a pharmacy or a travel agency or a small manufacturing plant in Bremerton or Tacoma or Snohomish or Spokane, you now are going to get something that is precious to your business development, and that's broadband access.
One time we didn't know what broadband was. Today, if we're going to be competitive, if we're going to bring jobs, especially to our rural areas, and I look at Southwest Washington, the area I'm proud to represent, there are people who still have dial-up there. You cannot, we tell a lot of these rural communities, diversify your economy. Don't just depend on extractive industries. But today, if you're in fisheries, if you're in forestry, if you're in agriculture, you're not just going out on your boat anymore, you're linking up with GPS, you're tapping global and local markets through the internet. All of those industries depend and will prosper more if we have broadband access. What we're talking about today is, as Jay said and as Secretary Locke said, it's about jobs and it's about economic development. The initiative for NoaNet came from our next guest. Greg Marney started his career in electrical utilities over on the east side, hails from the Wenatchee area, and he came up with this idea that we should work with our PUDs in our rural areas because rural people deserve access to broadband every bit as much as our urban areas, and it's a pleasure to introduce him now and thank him for his leadership on this. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm the guy that is not a professional speaker, so bear with me a little bit here. I'm also the guy here that they sent to pick up the check, and that's really my purpose. Yes, it is. We're really honored. I represent NoaNet, which is the kind of an aggregation utilities of public utilities around the state of Washington. And we've been in existence for 10 years, and during that time we've developed a lot of partnerships. And it included lots of service providers, including all of them that you know in the historical look of telecom companies in the Northwest, but also new ones, service providers that are wireless and brand new. So we've kind of breached the gap between the old and the new, and we've been the facilitator of that. With that, the grant that we applied for doesn't just represent NoaNet. It represents many, many groups, libraries, hospitals, cities, counties, all kinds of agencies that typically have not had good service in rural areas, have been partners in this. And our last count, there are more than 50 people involved in this grant application. So I stand here representing them and want to thank the government for funding this project. The reason I'm so personally attached to it is the dream of NoaNet was certainly to do what we're planning to do with this new stimulus money. And doggone it, during that first 10 years, there were a lot of places we had to pass up. They just did not make sense economically. But with the stimulus money and the things they're doing from the NTIA grant, it enables that. So all these projects that we passed up the first 10 years, we are finally getting back to here on this next grant, next two grants. The second grant, which is the one we're talking about today, really builds on the first one. There's some holes up in the northern part of the state that we're going to pick up and some in the southern part of the state. But by and large, it leverages that first one and builds out to even more cities than we had before. So I appreciate your partnership. I appreciate everybody that participated in this. And the real core of what we need to do now is get to work. And that's my job. That's why I'm not a good speaker, because I'm a worker, you know. But I have a whole team going right now, and if you look in the papers, we've got ads out for bid work. We've got equipment ordered, and we're ready to go to work. So thank you very much.
And the fact that we're 20th in the world on broadband access, you know, that's a challenge that we have to overcome, because, you know, just like we, you know, have a network of roads and a network of railroads, we're going to need a network of broadband, of fiber optic cable, to truly connect all of our cities and towns and businesses and people to the world economy. You know, when we came in here today, we were shown the Job Resource Center over here. And, you know, folks are coming into the library every day because here's where they can get their connection to look for work. We know that there are businesses in Seattle and elsewhere, as was explained by Brian Baird. You know, commerce flows with information now.
Setting up an email, writing resumes, using Word, all that kind of thing. So
Well, part of this grant is going to hook up many public safety institutions from the courts to police stations. It means that they'll have access to the state's criminal justice information system, so that they'll have a full background. If they arrest someone, if they stop someone, they'll be able to tap into the state system and have, you know, understand that this person might be wanted for a major crime. Don't let them loose. And it also means that they'll be able to transmit information between the court systems as well. So this really has major benefits for public safety, in addition to businesses, in addition to homes, in addition to schools.
And it completes the network. It really becomes, you know, a 20-year, 50-year network that reaches virtually every place in the state of Washington. And the places it doesn't reach, there's enough capacity that you can build additional extensions off of that to get to the most rural places. So it's going to be a busy time for the next 2-3 years. years. And at the same time, it seems tiresome. It's pretty darn exciting. There's nothing that makes us feel better than hooking up some city that's never seen, 10 gigabits of fiber optics before. So we're pretty excited about it. Feel good about it at the end of the day.